Okay, everybody, here we are in Dragonstar Arena. This is a video from the Nightblade Tank POV, and I'm gonna speed up certain sections when it gets a little boring and cut out certain sections just so the video doesn't go for too long. Because mostly it's always the same, but I'll try to explain a little bit on what you're actually doing here as a tank, what you're looking out for. It's not very hard to tank, though the most pressure in the whole Dragonstar Arena on Veteran is on the tank, because you're the one that needs to pull enemies in and group them up. I'm doing this on a Nightblade here, so I am using the Swarm Mother's helmet, which changes things in after they've attacked you or range attacked you, pretty much like the Necromancer's bone armor does, which makes it a lot easier because Silver Leash costs quite a lot, and I don't want to overuse Silver Leash in here. So I think the build I'm on here is Yolnakrin, Swarm Mother, and then a Leeching, Sword and Board, Jewelry, and Ice Stuff, just so I have a little bit more sustain or survivability. And then I think we went in there with almost 3 DPS. Well, no, the healer is actually healing, but also does some DPS as well. First round is fairly simple. Don't step into these plates that have the spikes coming out of them, and then just chain everything in nicely together, group them all up so the DPS can finish them easier. Now here comes the boss round. The mechanic of this boss is he's a Templar and he'll do a healing field underneath him. It's sometimes hard to see, especially if there's lots of other AoEs going on the ground, but I can hopefully show you. There it is. You might have seen it. It's like that yellow golden field, and whenever he puts that underneath himself, he'll heal himself up really quickly, which means you'll have to pull him out of that. So just taunt him and roll dodge backwards or run out of it, and he'll follow you. Now we're just doing a bit of damage here. At certain percentages there'll be ads spawning, so your DPS might want to keep their ultimates ready for that, like now. Just try and grab the big guys. There's the healing field again, so I'm trying to pull in out of it. Yeah, just try and taunt the big ads with the two-handers, because they will run around and wreck your teammates. And then the mages, just far spot them, and then Swarm Mothers will pull them in, or you can use the Silver Leash as well. This is a fairly easy fight as long as you remember to pull the boss out of these healing fields as soon as they appear. Otherwise you can spend hours in there, because if you leave him in there for 10 seconds he'll pretty much heal himself back up almost to full health. So you really need to keep an eye out on that and do that as quickly as you can. Alright, next up is the ice stage. This is where a lot of people struggle. As you can see, there's 3 fires, and you need to stay around these fires, because if you go into the ice while the ads are spawning, it will slow you down and hurt you. Alright, always takes a while for the ads to spawn in these arenas. But really all you want to do here is just grab all the enemies, taunt them, and if they're ranged, just try and pull them in. So you either use your Silver Leash or Swarm Mothers, or your chains if you're a Dragon Knight. It's probably most comfortable to tank this on Dragon Knight, but my Nightblade tank's my main, so I'm doing it on that. There's an archer back there, he's charging as well. I hope that one of my teammates has Crushing Shock to interrupt him, or they at least roll dodge the attack then. Alright, archer put Endless Hail down on us, but now he got pulled in by Swarm Mothers. Probably could have tried and Silver Leash him in instead of relying on Swarm Mothers here. But sometimes when you're in the middle of a fight, you don't really realize everything that's going around you. And also, I don't know if he was in range. So, from round 3 on, these fires will start going out. So what we want to do is grab a torch from the side of the arena and relight them. For the boss round, we've moved to the middle, but we've grabbed the torch from the other side of the room. So that now, while we're fighting the bosses, we actually still have another torch behind us. And if your DPS is fairly good, that's a great way to just get done with it, because the one torch that we used to light the fire from the other fireplace will now last till the bosses are about halfway down in the first wave of ad spawns, and then we still have another torch here next to us to relight the fire and finish the bosses off. The reason why we moved to the middle is fairly simple. It's because the mage doesn't really want to be taunted, and she's just sort of stuck to a corner sometimes. So you can either kill her first, or you can kill the knight first and then try to far spot the mage and get it into the group. There's an archer again. I interrupted it this time. And then the fire goes out, so we're grabbing the torch from right next to us, because we still have that, because we lit the fire with the other one, and then we're lighting the bonfire. Yeah, this can be problematic sometimes. You might want to keep an eye on the fire and light it a little bit earlier than we did here, so you don't wait until it just goes out. Alright, so now I've put range taunt on the mage, and I'm trying to get her out of the corner, so I have to run back into the ice a little bit, hoping that she'll follow me, which is what she does. So now she's in a better spot for the DPS to hurt her. And then you just focus the mage down and take care of the ads when they're spawning. What you want to get here is the troll, obviously, and then everything with a two-hander or a sword and board, because the guys are melee and they're just going to go around smacking the DPS. And then we completed that round as well. So you can pretty much do it from either the left or the right side all the time. And then as soon as the boss round starts, just grab the torch from the side, run to the middle, light the fire. So you still have the middle torch there. Okay, this is the poison round. That whole room is gonna fire up with poison. So what we did is go to the left corner as you enter the room. You can see that's the exit over there. The right side is where we came in. And we want to stay in that little corner bit, because that is where neither the poison from the side nor the poison from the front or the back can reach us. So you've always got a safe spot somewhere here. Unless an enemy is putting an AoE down as well, but it won't hurt as much as the poison, so you can probably out-heal it. This is the entrance over there. This is the left side, just in case you're wondering where we are. But priority ads in this, you want to taunt the crocodiles, definitely. You want to taunt the floating women and drag them in, because they do quite a lot of damage. And you also want to obviously taunt the big lizards. Everything else isn't too important. There will be stranglers. As you see, I've just been pulled in by a strangler. The DPS should kill them, because if there's poison and the strangler pulls one of you guys into the poison, you've pretty much got no chance to survive it. Alright, so we drag the bosses into that corner as well. The little totem that the mage does up has to be destroyed. And then you just keep the bosses at that corner here. The mage is going to teleport around how she wants to anyway. You can far spot her, and you can move back a little bit and try to pull her in, but chances are she's just going to teleport to somewhere else anyway. So in this round, I think it's easier to focus down the knight first, because at least he'll stay on you. And then you got ads spawning at about 50%, which need to be taken down. So taunt the flying women and keep the taunt on the bosses. And then when you've got everything safe, try and taunt the little ads as well. There you can see the mage teleported over into the poison, and then she teleported right back. So she's a bit of a pain in the butt to try and place her in one place, but it's not too hard. As soon as the knight is down, she's stationary, so she doesn't really move unless she teleports. And Ad put an AoE down in the little field between the poison, so I had to roll out of that. And then there'll be a second wave of ads. You want to get the Wamasu definitely, and then just taunt what you can. DPS got pulled over to the Lurcher there, so I'm trying to grab that ad so he doesn't get stabbed in the back by it. And then it's pretty much just like a dance, you know. You got poison coming in from the left, from the middle, from the right. So you're just trying to keep a taunt on all the enemies and avoid the poison on the ground. Okay, let's see where we are here. The next stage is one of the most annoying in my opinion. Alright, so here we are in the House Dres Enslavers round. This is probably one of the most annoying rounds in the whole of Veteran Dragonstar Arena. What you need to do here is, you see these shadows that are spinning their chains above their head. They are stationary, they won't move, but they will keep on doing that and keep on spinning it. And the way to avoid it is, if you get one of these white lines over your head, as you just see there, walk to the outside of the room, so to the walls or to one of the doors, because after a certain amount of time, the enslaver that puts the line on your head will spawn one of these shadows on you. And if you haven't managed to get into the outside of the room like I'm doing here, you will spawn the shadow right in the middle, and then it'll just get in your way and start killing people, because if there's too many of them like we've got now, people might accidentally roll dodge into them, or not have any other way to get out of an enemy's attack. So the point of the whole round is pretty much kill the enslavers, and if they put that white line on your head, walk to the outside of the room and try to place your shadow on the outside next to a wall where it won't be in the way. As you can see here, some of my teammates have unfortunately placed their enslavers right in the middle of the room, so they will disappear after a certain amount of time when the rounds change. And you can charge their ultimate on them as well, but still you'd rather have them on the outsides of the room. So I've got a white line on my head here while the boss is spawning, so I'm trying to walk to the outside of the room, so does my teammate, and we're gonna wait until the shadows spawn, and then we'll have the two shadows right at the wall where they won't be in the way of anybody. The boss himself doesn't do anything. He doesn't heal himself up. He doesn't have any special mechanics. It's all about the enslavers and the white lines. So there's two ways of approaching this boss fight. Either you've got very good damage and you can run towards the enslavers and kill them right as they spawn, or you just leave them be, but there'll be more and more of them, and try to place the shadows that will spawn on your head if you got the white line on the outside of the room. So as for tanking, just keep your damage mitigation and self heals up. and block the heavy attacks. The boss isn't very dangerous, he doesn't hit too hard as long as you can block the heavies. That's the ones like this where he's spinning around and then hits you with a massive hit. The round itself is fairly annoying, especially for the DPS and the healers, because you can't really keep up a great rotation and damage on the boss when you have to run and kill the Enslavers or drop the shadows on the wall all the time. Hence why, I've said this a couple of times, but if you're a stamina DPS, you've got to be very experienced to use Relicans in this in the whole Dragonstar Arena, because you'll have to run to the outside and then you'll have to keep your light attacks up for the stacks with your bow, and then you'll have to roll dodge and eventually rest people. So for arenas, I would always prefer to go with either Vicious Ophidian or Twice Fanged Snake for the extra penetration maybe. And if you're running this with 3 DPS, you might not want to use Locestes because there won't be enough synergies to keep a good uptime on Locestes. You pretty much need a new synergy every 15 seconds or 20 seconds or so. And yeah, you just won't get any of them. As you can see there, there's barely any synergies on the ground for me to take as a tank even. So Locestes is probably not going to do very much here. But there's other great sets like Briarheart, which even heals you a little bit, or Haim Jazz from Ruins of Mazatun, that you could use instead, just to have more flat out damage and not have to worry about keeping your Relican stacks up or anything. I mean, if you're a really top end player, you can probably do it. You can probably run to the wall, drop your shadow, keep a light attack up with your bow every 5 seconds to keep the Relican stacks up, but it's gonna be quite the hassle. So if you're not sure you can actually do it, just use something else. And then the other point is that most ads in here are already dead before you can even get like 10 stacks up or something. So it won't really increase your DPS overall very much. Alright, next round. This is the Ankara round. What you'll get here is these ads called Shadow Casters. The first one is gonna spawn right across from the door where you entered the arena after round 1, I think it is. And you want to kill it as soon as possible. If you don't kill it, you will have to deal with the mechanic of this arena. That means if you don't kill it, he will channel his ability and you will get a AoE under you, and you will have to search for the plates on the ground that are lighting up blue and stand on them until it's over, or else you'll just explode and die in a one-shot. Now here comes the second Shadowcaster that's to the left side of where you entered the arena after round 2. Or maybe after round 3. And this time I think we do not manage to take the Shadowcaster down in time, so you'll see the mechanic. He's channeling his abilities, and oh no, we did. I know there's one point in this where we were a little bit too slow, so you'll get to see the mechanic as well. So after the second Shadowcaster on the left side, you want to stick to the left side of the room and taunt everything in, because the third Shadowcaster will also spawn on the left side, but not at the beginning of a round. He'll spawn in the middle of round 3 or 4 it is, I think. So as you can see here, we're killing all the ads, and then the Shadowcaster just appears randomly in the middle of the round, and it's hard to focus that one down unless you know exactly where it's coming. So now we have to deal with the mechanics. We get the little AoEs, and we have to stand on the plates that are lighting up blue. There'll only be 4 of them. The suggestion is that you let the tank have the plate that is the closest to the Shadowcaster or where you guys are. Because if the tank survives, like here now we've got 2 people dying, or we had 2 people dying, and if the tank survives, he can just keep the ads on him while the other person resurrects everybody. So make sure the tank survives. Let him have the closest plate that's lighting up blue. And then the other people are just gonna have to run for the other blue plates. There can only be one person per plate. And then if the tank survives, he can easily hold everything together while the other people are getting the reses in. Now boss round, you'll have the boss spawning and the Shadowcaster to his right and the normal ad to his left. So you want to put some AoEs down beforehand. Oh no, the boss is actually spawning on the left, the gargoyle in the middle, and there's a Shadowcaster as well. So we managed to kill the Shadowcaster on the right. Now I'm just trying to stack the gargoyle on the boss so that he dies with the AoE damage. And then it's just pretty much the same as you've always done these rounds. Around 40% or 50%ish, you will get a second ad wave, and then at 30% you will get another ad wave, and the last ad wave will have another Shadowcaster to the left side of the room. So after the first ad wave, just pull the boss over to the left and kill the last Shadowcaster to survive the arena. Other than that, there's not too much to it. So now we're here in the poison stage. There's a bunch of mechanics to this one. First thing you need to know is priority targets are the archers. They're called rangers in this. So whenever you see a ranger, you want to call it out for the group so they can go and kill that one immediately. Because if he charges his bow attack, he can one-shot people. And if he hits people anyway with his other attack, he can debuff them so that they get all of their magicka and stamina drained, and it just makes it really hard to sustain in this round then. Now the bigger ads like the werewolves, lurchers and spriggans in here will drop AoEs when they die. As you can see here, we had the lurcher and the werewolf dying, and they left AoEs on the ground that are shimmering green. Now what these AoEs do is they give you resources back. So when you're in them, you get magicka and stamina back, but they're still enemy AoEs, so you will still take quite a lot of damage when you're in them. So that's the trade-off. If you got hit by a ranger, or generally got that effect on you that drains all your resources, you can step into these AoEs that are shimmering green and you get your resources back, but you lose health. So be very careful with that. Other than that, there's not too much to this round. The ads aren't terribly hard as long as you can keep track of the rangers and prioritize them. There you get the boss spawning with a lurcher and 2 ads. There's several ways of approaching this boss fight. Either you stack the enemies on the boss, which will have the consequence that you get the AoE though right on the boss when the ads die. But usually it's not a problem because it's not a very big AoE. The other thing will be you far taunt the boss and bring the enemies away to place the AoE somewhere else when they die and then come back to the boss. But usually it's not too much of a problem unless you've got only stamina DPS. Then it might be a little hard for them to reach the boss if he's in the AoEs. Now you'll get an ad wave, well 2 ad waves really, as always with these boss fights here. You just want to pull the big ones in, the lurcher and spriggan. And then the boss herself only has 2 mechanics. She can lift up her bow, make it glow orange, means she's charging it, and if she's done charging and hits someone, it'll be a one-shot that can't be out-healed or blocked. And other than that, even though you've got her taunted, she might turn around and target random people like she does now. These people are gonna have to dodge roll the attack because there's nothing as a tank you can do. She's just targeting random people, but she'll say something when she does that, like taking aim or charging, and that should let your teammates know that she's gonna turn around to fire at someone else, and then they can roll dodge the attack. Other than that, it's fairly simple. Just pull the ads in and kill the boss. Just need to look out for what she's actually doing a little bit. If the tank is on the opposite side of the DPS, it's easy to see when she turns around and faces someone else, because that means she's gonna try and shoot somebody. Okay, here we go. This is probably the hardest round in all of VDSA, because your DPS are gonna have to split, and you are going to have to take care of ads from all sides of the arena before they can get to your DPS, which is hard because your DPS are going to the left and the right, and if the ads are spawning over there, you've got very short amount of time to taunt them and get them into the middle and away from your DPS. The reason why the DPS have to go to either sides of the room is because there's 3 altars in the room, one to the left, one to the front, and one to the right. And the doors next to the altars will spawn ads that are called sacrifices. The sacrifices are slow, but they will very slowly walk to the altar, and if they manage to reach it and sacrifice themselves, big ads will spawn. Meaning there are 3 types of sacrifices that can come out of either door. A light armor one, a medium armor one, and a heavy armor one. Obviously the heavy armor one is harder to kill than the light armor one. And the light armor one reaching the altar means you get 2 scams that are shooting fire around, which can be dangerous if your DPS are vampires. The medium armor one will spawn a harvester, which you do not want, and the heavy armor one will spawn a big dragon titan, which you definitely do not want in this arena because it makes everything very hard and it can kill people. So what you want to do is assign 1 DPS to the left side, to the left altar, 1 DPS to the right side, and then the middle, both of them have to watch out for. And then just call out the sacrifices. In terms of tanking, the fire mages in here are probably the most dangerous thing next to the Daedroth. And I think it is at round 4 when you'll have 4 fire mages spawning at around the same time, and it's very hard to far spot all of them immediately, because if they hit your DPS, or if like more than 2 of them hit your DPS, they'll definitely be dead. So you want to get your taunt on the fire mages and the Daedroths first. Now as you can see here, we're going back to the middle, killing the ads. And I'm trying to keep a look to the left out if there's a sacrifice spawning in. Alright, so I skipped here to the boss round. At the boss round, 3 sacrifices will come out of the door at the same time. As you can see there's 1 to the left, 1 in the middle, and also 1 on the right. So your DPS are going to have to go to the sacrifices or their assigned sites straight away, kill the sacrifices, while you are keeping taunts on the 2 bosses. There will also be ad rounds, as always, around the 50-60% mark, and then again around the 30-ish% mark. So if that happens, try to far taunt all the ads in. And then there's 2 ways to go about this. Both of these bosses do quite a lot of mechanics. The night boss can do a nova. Like a Templar Nova, an ultimate skill, and the Mage boss can do a negate bubble, as well as Daedric Mines on the ground. There you see the negate bubble. If you want to get out of that, the boss can put Purifying Light on your head, which will explode after a certain time. So they've really got all the abilities that an actual Sorcerer or Templar has in the game. They can see the bad Nova that he dropped there. We're trying to get out of that. I've got the Purifying Light on me again. And then the Mage also randomly targets people with her crystal fragments, which is going to be random. Even if you got the far taunt on her, it doesn't matter. And the mage is also healing herself up as well, so there's a lot of interrupts with the mage boss. You can interrupt her when she heals herself up, you can interrupt certain abilities that she does. So the two ways of doing this is either stacking them, and as a taunt, as a tank, you need to be really good with your interrupts, not get stunned, not get caught up in the negate bubble, and always interrupt the mage when she's trying to heal herself back up. And then the second way of doing this, which is my preferred way, is just far taunting the mage and leaving her to do whatever she does. Just leave her at full health, she's going to heal herself back up anyway. And try to kill the knight first, because as soon as the knight is gone, it'll be very easy to stick with the mage and just interrupt her, because there's nothing else you're going to have to look out for. So that's the strategy we went for here. You can see the DPS running off, killing the sacrifices every time they appear. That's very important, because you've already got 2 bosses and a bunch of ads. You do not want a big Titan dragon to spawn in this arena as well. And then we just leave the mage be. I keep a far taunt on her and try to kill the knight first. Now, as I said, it really depends on the abilities of your DPS or of your whole group. If everybody can keep an eye out on the mage for interrupts, but it's very hard because you get the Nova from the knight, you get the negate bubble from the mage, your DPS are constantly going to have to run off to kill the sacrifices that are coming out of the doors before they reach the altars. So to me, it's just the safer route to kill the knight first and just leave the mage at full health. Alright, so we're almost done with the knight now. As you can see here, all we've got left is the mage and then 1 round of ads coming in. There'll be a Daedroth in the 2nd round of ads, so you want to make sure you get that one. But other than that, it's very easy now to stick with the mage and interrupt her like I did there when she tries to heal herself or channel some weird ass ability that might wipe your team. Okay, she's putting the negate bubble down again. Just trying to keep the far taunt on her. If you see her channeling the crystal fragments, you can also call it out unless it's on you anyway, just so your DPS know to roll dodge. And then it's very easy to just focus the mage down and interrupt her while she's doing her abilities. So if you want to do them at the same time or focus the mage first, you can do that. But it's going to be a lot harder with all of the interrupts and all the things you need to take care of and all the ultimates you need to roll out of. However, the choice is yours, really. You can try it either way. The safer way is to kill the knight first and then focus on the mage, though. Alright, so we're almost done with this one. Alright, so here we are in the next round, the one with the Dwemer, Centurions and Ice Mages. This is a lot easier than the last one with the 3 altars. However, there are some things to look out for. Mostly the dwarven spiders and the dwarven spheres. If they get together, the spiders have that little dome above them, and that means the spheres can charge themselves at the spiders. And if they manage to do that, they can one-shot people, so you want to kill them before they're able to do that. That's a mechanic that's been in the game ever since Dragonstar Arena and the very base game. And it still goes on till this day. You still got the spiders and the spheres in new dungeons like Frostvault as well. So it's good to know that mechanic and be aware of it when it happens. Other than that, you've got ice mages here, which hit very hard. You wouldn't think so, but the ice mages actually do quite a lot of damage, so you want to get a taunt on them as soon as possible and pull them in if you can. Sometimes they're hiding behind their ice shield thing, but definitely try and put a taunt on them because they can be very rough on your DPS. Now there's a little spider again. Thankfully there's no sphere near to charge itself at the spider. And then occasionally you'll get these negate bubbles which you'll have to roll dodge out of, but you already know that from the last round. And yeah, that's about it. So make sure you're taunting the ice mages. If you see a sphere charging itself at a spider, go and kill it before it can do anybody harm. And then we get to the main mechanic of this thing, which is these big guys here, the Centurions. There'll be a red one, a blue one, and a yellow one, sometimes even 2 yellow ones. The yellow can't be taunted, it's just gonna go off, do his thing, like you can see here. And the blue one can be interrupted to avoid the mechanic, which is that one person gets a circle of fire around them and one person gets a circle of ice around them. And then they have to stack together to cancel it out. You can avoid the mechanic by interrupting the blue guy, but it is a very short window of time, so you really have to keep an eye on the blue guy. It's about 2 seconds or so, I'd say, maybe 3, where you can interrupt the channeling of that mechanic. Now, as you can see, person on the right side had the fire circle, but we managed to kill the blue dude anyway before it became a problem. Either way, the ice circle, the person who gets the ice circle will get slowed down, so it's always better for the fire person to come to the ice person and stack on them to cancel out the effects. Otherwise, one of them will burn to death and the other one will freeze to death. Now, the boss here, this is fast forwarded because it's not a very interesting boss fight. He does do little fire AoEs, and his ultimate is the meteor from the Mage's Guild skill line. So if you see a little circle underneath your feet growing, you gotta roll dodge, or else the meteor will hit you. 2 times during this fight you'll get the Centurion spawn. First it'll be 2 or 3, and then it will be 4. As always, try to interrupt the blue one so you don't get the 2 circles on you, and then just kill the red one. Now, keeping taunt on the boss here at all times, obviously. Keeping the debuffs up. Here we're gonna have to get a quick res in. And then we should soon get the 4 Centurions, which is the hardest part of the boss fight, because you need to keep a taunt on the boss and all 4 of these Centurions, even though the yellow ones are just going to run off anyway. So I've got blue and red here, and then let's see if we manage to interrupt the blue one or kill it before he does the mechanic. I think we did, yes. Alright, so now it's just the boss left and the yellow ones. That's pretty much it. If you can group these Centurions on the boss and keep interrupting the blue one, or in case you get the mechanic, stack the people with the ice and fire, you should be fine. It's not the hardest round in the thing, you just need to watch out for a couple things. Okay, this is the last round before the boss fight. As you can see here, there's ads spawning everywhere, and there's these little AoEs with the skeleton arms coming out of them on the ground. These little AoEs are actually portals to the downstairs part of the graveyard that you're fighting in. Now, if you fall into one of these portals, you're going to have to kill the ads down there in order to get back up. So if you're a tank or a healer, just really try and avoid falling into one of these portals by accident, because you're going to have a really hard time killing ads if you're a tank. If there's people downstairs and people upstairs, and all people on either side die, you're going to reset the round and you're going to have to start again. Now, the mechanics to this is when these blue ads appear that actually have a name, like you can see the guy on the right there that I'm trying to pull over here, but he won't really come. These blue ads cannot be damaged unless your DPS are going downstairs and killing the golden ad downstairs in the room. So there'll be a golden ad in the downstairs bit when the blue guy spawns, and then your DPS are going to have to jump into one of these skeleton arm portal thingies on the ground, kill the golden ad downstairs in order to be able to come back up and damage the blue boss. If you're not doing that, the blue boss will take 1 damage from all of your attacks and it'll be impossible to kill it, really. So this happens 2 times, I think. One time's at round 2, one time's at round 3, or maybe it's 3 or 4. The tanking in it is very basic. I'm not really talking about the tanking a lot because you can see it. Like, I'm keeping Mirage up for mitigation, I'm keeping Dark Cloak up for the heal, I'm keeping Blockade on the ground for the debuffs, and other than that, I'm really just trying to group the ads up and chain them in somewhat. Now, the boss fight, you will get 2 of these blue ads spawning at the same time and twice as many ads downstairs for your DPS. So with the boss fight, it'll be good if not just 1 DPS is going down there to kill the ads, but 2 of them, because you'll get 2 golden ones, and I think it is 4 of the others, which can also hit quite hard. The boss itself isn't really too dangerous. She does an AoE underneath her at times, and you want to block her heavy attacks, but that's about it. And then at a certain percentage, when you get the 2 blue ads spawning, like now, you want to far taunt them, keep the taunt on the boss, and then stack them on the one that doesn't really move. So over there you can see the mage, the blue mage boss. He's not moving, the other 2 are. So what you want to do is group them up and stack them on the mage, which is what I'm trying to do here. Now, as you can see on the left side of the screen, 2 of our DPS went down. They're killing the golden ads downstairs, so we can actually do damage on the blue bosses, which we can now. As you can see, bigger damage numbers. DPS are coming back up, everything is grouped up nicely, so they can drop an ultimate on it now and just kill the 2 blue guys before you have to repeat the whole thing and go down again. Now that you've killed the blue bosses, you've only got the main boss left. Shouldn't be too much of a problem, really. You just keep the taunt on him, keep your shields and mitigations up, and your heal, and debuff him with Blockade and Lotus Fan if you want to. And then at around the 35-ish% mark, you'll get another round of ads, but they're not very hard, just a couple archers and skeletons, so just group them up around the boss and kill them. And avoid falling into these portals. After you kill the two blue bosses during the boss fight, you won't have to go down again. So here we've got the ads coming in, a ghost, a couple skeletons, I think there's 1 archer somewhere. I'm just trying to group them all up, put elemental blockade on them for the crusher glyph to block. Seems I've lost the boss there for a second. It's a bit embarrassing, but well, happens. Got it back right away though, and now they can just kill the boss. There's going to be no more ads, just the 2 blue ones and then 1 normal ad wave, and then that's it. Alright, very last round, last boss. We're going to do this the fast way. So there's another video out there where I think I've explained that on a Dragon Knight in detail. What you want to do is tell your DPS to stay at the entrance, tell your healer to equip a taunt, mainly Inner Rage or Inner Fire from the Undaunted skill line, and then you go on your own as a tank over there, pull the boss, and you just keep him there until you get the flame AoE spawning underneath your feet. Now, I have the AoE, I'm gonna have to wait here until the flame Atronach spawns, and then I won't carry the AoE with me, but it'll just stay over there and not be in anybody's way, like now. So what I'm doing now is running over, bringing the boss to the group, and then they'll have to do some good damage to get it down to 75% very quickly. And at 75% health of the boss, the healer is going to taunt the boss off me and bring it back to the gate where we entered the arena. The reason he's doing that is so they can do damage on the boss and won't get any Fire Atronach AoE spawning on their feet if they're back in the gate, and they won't have to deal with the side bosses either because I'm going to take them away from them. Which is what the tank is doing here. You get a taunt on the two side bosses and run back over to the place where the boss spawned. So your healer is going to have taunt on the main boss, and your DPS are just going to do damage over there at the gate, while you are taking care of these two side bosses here that do all kinds of things, like drop meteors on you and put healing fields underneath them. So you want them far away from the boss, just be on that side and take care of them, and then have your DPS call out to you when the boss is below 50% and has done his mechanic with the AoEs. By that time you want to come back here. Two more side bosses will spawn, as you can see there on the left and right. I'm trying to get a far taunt on both of them, and then I'm running off with my 4 bosses now. So as you can see here, I've got taunt on all the 4 bosses. They're all with me, and the DPS can easily focus down the boss while I'm just keeping these guys busy. The boss is doing a big AoE thing at 50%, and if you're on the other side of the lava river, you might get pulled in by it, so always stay on that side of the river with your 2 bosses, and then once he's done it, have your DPS call out that you can come back and grab the other 2 bosses. So that's pretty much how you do it. You just keep the 4 bosses busy until your DPS killed the boss, and then you're done with Dragonstar.